Welcome to Project Further. I'm April Omer. Here at Project Further, we strive to serve as a resource for girls in youth soccer and their families who have a desire to play the beautiful sport at the highest of levels. I'm here in the studio with my amazing producer, Lo. Hey, Lo.
Hey,
Hey.
another great episode, right?
Yeah, of course. Always a good time. So what are we talking about today, Lo?
Ooh, let's get into it. I watch you a lot, right?
Hear me complain a lot.
And I noticed, like, for you, as you know, I think you said this before on the show, you're a doctor by trade, but your true light is when you're soccer momming.
Right. That's right.
And as it should be. But soccer mom be momming out here. So I thought it was only befitting that we talk a little bit. And today's episode, y'all, will be a little more relaxed, in the sense that we're going to just talk about some of the ups and downs that come with being a soccer mom.
Right.
Can we do that?
Yeah, of course.
We can do that today, right?
Talk about it all.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. You know I love the beginning, the origin of everything, right? Like, how was that adjustment being in your typical role as a caretaker by, trade, but then your own tribe, your girls get into soccer and they love it.
Right.
So what was that like in the beginning, the early days?
Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot of moving parts, a lot of juggling, because I think as they got more into it, we got used to sort of what the routine would be. Like the first couple of seasons, we're like, wait a minute, now we're doing what? Like we're training when?
Yeah.
We got these tournaments. Like what does that mean? That kind of thing. And as you get sort of more in tune to the whole soccer lifestyle, you're like, okay, we know the schedule's coming out. Let's see what it's going to be like, and then we got to plan everything around that. So that was the biggest thing, is we actually had to learn to kind of structure our lives around the schedule, the season, right? And so, of course, and that's sort of the season part of it. Like, okay, this weekend we're going to be here, that weekend we're going to be there. Let's get all the hotels booked. Let's get the flights, or are we driving? Let's get the rental cars and do all that. But then that's not even counting like the day-to-day stuff, right?
Right.
Like, with my girls, of course, with me, school has been my jam, right? Physician, school is number one. Got to get that work done. You got to get that homework done. Your grades have to be good, or there will be no soccer, right? So getting them to understand that from the beginning and drilling that into their heads and getting them to believe that, because that way, at least that's one piece of it that I don't have to worry as much about. Of course, as a mom, you still have to be, okay, let's look at this syllabus. Let's look at this rubric. Let's get this project done and all that day to day. But then also figuring out the training schedule and feeding them, that's a biggie at my house, okay?
Okay.
Because I have two teenage girls. They're only 2.5 years apart, but they are polar opposites. One doesn't eat these things and the other one eats all those things, right? And I'm kind of an old school mom. I grew up in the South. I cook, right? So I'm cooking meals.
Are you the mom that says you got to clean your plate?
Oh my goodness. No, I'm not. I think that's the doctor side of me. I'm like, listen, listen to your body, eat until you feel satisfied and then go from there, but at the same time,
talk to me.
The mom part of me, right, especially the mom of athletes, is like, okay, but I can't let you go hungry. You know what I mean? Like, you have some parents who are like, look, like the way I grew up is, we never even asked what was for dinner, right? You knew what it was when it hit the table, when you got there, right? It's like,
you gonna eat what I cook.
Or not, right? Or not. And we ate it all. My kids are total opposite. Like, they don't eat this, they don't eat that. Because kids nowadays are different anyway, right?
I do.
So there have been times when it was like, I was like a short order cook. I'm like, I'm cooking this little meal for that one. I'm cooking, and people say don't do that. And the physician in me is like, okay, we need to set boundaries. But the mom in me, the soccer mom, says, I'm going to make sure my babies eat because they're doing all this activity and all this stuff, So there's that, just the planning part of it. I think that was probably the biggest thing, the hardest thing to wrap my mind around was like getting a routine down and getting a plan together that my whole family was on board with and could follow. Because, on Monday we have to be at this place and Tuesday we have to be at this place. There was a point when both my girls were playing select soccer, same club, different age groups or different teams. There was a point when we were at the soccer field 4 or 5 nights a week.
Wow.
Yeah, at least 4, sometimes 5, depending. Right.
So let me ask this.
Yeah.
In that, what does the family dynamics and the culture become when you're dedicating that much time to just being somewhere outside of the house?
Yeah, I mean, it can get a little crazy. I mean, you have to. What I've had to learn to do is this. Number one, I had to learn to be more flexible. Okay. My personality, and I think part of this, my personality in being a little bit more regimented is one of the reasons why I went into medicine, and medicine just made it worse, right? Like you do things a certain way, right? You expect a certain outcome. You always have to follow these rules, right? My husband is the opposite.
Okay.
Right. He's more of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy. It'll all be fine. It'll work out. And it always works out for him. Now, if I did that, it would all go to pieces, right?
Yeah.
So he brings a little bit more flexibility to me. So I think the biggest thing I had to learn was how to be more flexible, right? In terms of, okay, what is my life going to look like? Right. Because I think as parents, especially parents with kids, we kind of have these ideas about what our life will look like, what our family life will look like. Like I said, I grew up in the South, old school. I'm old. So, it's like my mom cooked and she cleaned and she did. And so I always sort of imagined myself being that kind of mom. But because of my career and because of this path that my kids have chosen, I can't be that kind of mom.
Yeah.
So I've had to sort of pivot and learn that, you know what? Some nights it's okay to leave dishes in the sink. They'll be fine. Some days I just got to feed them. I was planning on cooking, work ran long, or I'm tired. So guess what? We're going to make a trip over to the restaurant, the fast food spot, and you'll be fine, right? And so that was the biggest thing. And then also helping my girls start to take accountability for their own schedules as well. So I figured out some tools for the family, like organizationally, so that everybody sort of over time, like now, when they were younger, not so much, but now it's like everybody's responsible for putting it on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it does not exist in my world, right? So if
wait
you're
a minute,
supposed to, right.
you found a system that is working.
Yes.
Give us a little insight into that. Don't brush past
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So the system that we have, because now it's even crazier. Because now London is, my oldest girl plays here, right? And she they're playing high school now and everything too, but she plays, my oldest girl Evan, 16-year-old, plays on a select team here in town.
Okay.
So they have their schedule. Plus, other 16-year-old things she just has going on, right? Just so much stuff. And then, of course, London plays on the team 2 hours away. And then there's other things that she has going on with her friends or whatever. And so we found a system that we use at home. It is a display system where you can load everything that's going on, every date into that, right? And everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have kind of a home sort of panel in our pantry where you can walk up and you can see it's color coded. You can see what everybody's doing, who's supposed to be there, and we put as much detail into that as possible. And then my girls and my husband are responsible for loading their own stuff in there too. So when you're doing it, like if you're planning something, you can see, oh no, man, I have a conflict, right? So I'm going to need to talk to my mom about that, or get mom to cancel that appointment, or I need to cancel the appointment because I have this other thing going on. So that is what's worked best, is making everybody accountable for putting their stuff on that display, on
in
that
that communal space.
In that communal space.
Gotcha.
Because number one, you can look at it at a glance and see if there are any conflicts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also it's nice because there's an app where, just because of our family dynamics and because I'm always the one who's historically has been organized and responsible for managing everything.
Yeah.
It would be nothing for my kids to call me and say, "Hey, Mom, what time is my appointment? I'm like, I am seeing patients right now. Like, I said, can you, like, can we
Yeah.
talk about it later? Can you ask dad or whatever? Or even my husband, hey, what day are we leaving for?
Yeah.
I don't have it at my fingertips, right? And so this is like, if you're not at home, if you're at the airport and you're wondering what rental car company we booked this reservation through because you're traveling, he's traveling with London to take her to some tournament. He can look right on the app and be like, okay, here's the confirmation. Here's what, it's handy because everybody has information at their fingertips. So that has been a game changer for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, even in that scope, like, are y'all automating other aspects of the family dynamics? Like, for you, because you are a mom, and a lot of moms today are working, they're on the go, like things like groceries. Are
Right.
you like doing the groceries through the app?
Oh my gosh.
Are you like having like what other ways are you automating a lot of things in your
Right.
life?
So I live by subscription services,
Okay.
right? Once we find a product that we like, if you can auto ship it from everything from dog food to toilet paper,
Wow.
comes on a schedule, right? So I don't have to go get any of that stuff. Paper towels, so I live by subscriptions,
Yeah.
right? And then I live by delivery services or pick up, like, Walmart. I can't tell you the last time I walked into a Walmart to buy groceries because, I go on the app, and they can deliver it. They can have it here in 3 hours or an hour, depending on how bad I need it. So I think utilizing those tools, first of all, there's something I say a lot. It's like, I think as moms, as parents in general, not just moms, I say that because I'm a mom, but there are plenty of dads out there that are doing it too,
Yeah.
The first thing we got to do is we got to let ourselves off the hook.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, right?
Now explain that for
Okay. Because for years, I would beat myself up because I couldn't be everything for everyone at every moment.
Yeah.
Right? So I had to learn that there are certain things that I don't have the bandwidth for. And that's okay. Number one,
Yeah.
it's okay if it doesn't get done or if it doesn't get done exactly like, my 13-year-old wanted it done, or it doesn't get done on that exact day in that exact moment that I was hoping to get it done. That's okay. Being able to organize and prioritize those things. What really has to be done? Are there going to be dire consequences? Not many things when you really, really look at it, right?
Yeah.
And so letting myself off the hook, learn to let myself off the hook and be like, I am so many things to so many people, and everybody is okay. Everybody's fine. Sometimes they may be disappointed because this didn't get done or that didn't get done or we can't do that. But 9 times out of 10, I figure out a way to make it happen, right? And so realizing that, what? The times that I can't, it's okay. And I don't have to dwell on it. I don't have to feel bad about it, And also, I think one of the things for the parents who work also and also have to do this, there's a lot of, for a long time, there was a lot of mom guilt for me because I have a career and I love that career, but I want to be the best parent and best spouse that I can be as well. And sometimes it does take a little bit of balancing. And sometimes, sometimes things slide off your plate, right? So, and you feel bad, right? So learning how to navigate that, I think, was critical and allowed me to to be more flexible, figure out alternatives, and also sometimes just kind of let things go and be like, what, we'll do that next time. Or maybe not,
I do, but I love that you say give grace to yourself.
Right.
Because I know when you are an involved parent, and I think this goes to both genders, like not feeling like you can be everywhere at once.
Right.
Sometimes we get that natural guilt. Like, oh, they want me there.
Right.
But like, how do I'm running from this thing to the next.
Right.
But then we burn ourselves out.
Right.
Have you ever found yourself in a place where you did get burned out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Where I start to feel like once you get to that point, you feel like you kind of don't have much else to give.
Yeah.
Like you can't get any of it done, and that's really the worst feeling. To me, that's a much worse feeling than feeling like, oh, I wish I could have done that. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't. But yeah, I've been there, and I think probably every parent's been there who's trying to get everything done for everybody, And I think it was a combination of running hard and fast all the time, like constantly. And even when you sleep, you're not really resting because you're always thinking about the next thing you got to do and the next thing you got to do and the next thing you got to do. So like I said, what helps a lot is organization. Like for me, I'm a visual person, so that's also why that display helps me, because I can look and I can see, okay, yeah, this is what I have, this is what my week is going to look like. And so mentally I kind of I internalize that and I process it, and then I'm like prepared for what this is going to be like this week. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
I don't do well with sort of uncertainty very, very much. I do like, I do like sort of a forecast. I like sort of an idea about how my day is going to be. And then if it doesn't go quite that well, then I like to have a backup plan for it. So that helps me mentally and emotionally to kind of process things and not be so anxious about what this is going to be like, right? So I think that, and like I said, giving yourself grace, right? And also, I think understanding that everybody walks through this type of season with their life and their kids in some way, form, or fashion.
Yeah.
Like our life is a little bit different because we're doing so much with soccer. Like we're traveling so much. I mean, we travel out of state all the time. I mean, we're just getting back from Florida. We've been to California. We've been to, we go to Texas a lot. We're going to be doing another big trip soon to play soccer. We've been, and it's sort of always something on top of running my medical practice, on top of making sure my girls are making good grades and that they're fed and they're nourished and they're nurtured and they have time with our family and they also have downtime, and making sure my husband is cared for, and so all that stuff is it can be a lot, but I think planning is important to help you navigate that. The other thing I think is important is pulling in the same direction as a family, right? My husband, he's retired now. So he's been retired for a few years.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing husband. He's an amazing dad, He's the one that, like, when my girls want to do something crazy, like, he's the one they go to. Because I was like, that's your guy right there. Because I'm not going to the amusement park. That's just not my jam. I'm just not doing it. That's your guy. But he's never like, oh, I'm too tired. He's like, let's go. Da, da, da. And there have been times when he said, you know what, I'm just going to take the girls and we're going to do this because I just want to give you some time. So having that person who can compliment you in that way, I think is important. And like I said, pulling in the same direction as a family, right? Knowing that this is our goal, helping to offset the stresses by providing, your significant other, your other person, sort of what they need, is important. He's taken over cooking and feeding us. Like, I love to cook. It's relaxing for me. It's fun for me. But right now, I'm in a season where I don't have a lot of time for that right now, with all the things that we're doing. So instead of, for a while it was like, okay, can you just figure out dinner, or can you cook today, right? But then I realized what I really needed that to be taken over.
Yeah.
Right? And being willing to say, can you just take that on? Like, that's your thing. So now I have more mental space because I don't have to think about what we're eating. And, 5 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to tell me that that's how it was going. I was like, no, I like cooking. I'm going to cook. I'm going to feed us. I'm going to do the things. But it's like, no, it's fine. And he feeds us. And sometimes, he cooks and sometimes he doesn't. But we're always fed. And it's something I don't have to worry about and the girls don't have to worry about.
So does he still adhere to the select choices that the girls both have on that spectrum?
Yeah. And that's a whole nother thing. I mean, that is something that we struggle with.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. As a mom, I'm a gastroenterologist, right? So I'm all about the gut and what are we putting in our bodies and what are we eating and our nutrition.
Yeah.
And it is something that we struggle with because I have, the one daughter she's picky, right?
Yeah.
And so for years, this is my oldest daughter, for years, like, she won't do any cheese. She doesn't do any dairy. Like, we order pizza with no cheese at my house for them.
Yeah.
Like, we have to order separate pizzas for my girls because they don't eat cheese, right?
Either one of them.
Wow. And I think the little one started, my 13-year-old started mostly because, and she will on occasion eat some, but the other one, she's like, I don't even want to smell it. So no cheese, right? Right now she's pescatarian.
Okay.
So for a while she was like, I'm going to be vegetarian. My girls aren't crazy about meat anyway, which is fine, right? But right now she's pescatarian.
Okay.
Good thing is she's 16 and she's a great cook and she enjoys cooking. So she started cooking, which has helped a lot, right? Because she, like last night, she prepared her own meal, you know. My husband cooked for the rest of the family. She prepared her own meal, you know. So my husband took her to the supermarket and she had her ingredient list and, you know, he got it for her and she got home and she prepared her, you know, a little salmon, a little rice, little, you know, she cooked it up and, you know, great. Now getting her to clean up the kitchen afterwards is a whole, it looks like a bomb went off in the kitchen
Yeah.
afterwards. But at least, you know, she's nourished and she's satisfied and she ate, right? Now my baby is a whole different story.
Okay.
She has a sweet tooth. She gets that honest from her dad. Like if it's sugary and it's in the house, they will eat it all. Okay. Which is why, like, I try not to bring it in the house, but my husband, because he's in charge of feeding us, will bring it in the house. Right.
Right.
So I always have to be careful about that. And I'm trying to teach her. It's like, listen, this isn't good for you for these reasons. You know, just little tidbits, right? Everything in moderation. You know, you see this isn't a color that exists in nature. If there's anything as a color that doesn't exist in nature, you shouldn't be putting it in your body, right?
Yeah.
See these ramen noodles, you can buy like 20 for $1. Anything that costs $1 for 20 of them, you probably shouldn't be eating those. You know what I mean? So little
Right.
things that can stick with her, just basic guidelines. But she's a little bit of a different kind of eater, you know? I mean, but apparently she's getting what she needs because she's growing well. But it's just a struggle because as a mom, I worry about that.
Yeah.
Right. I worry. You're an athlete. You're always running. You're always doing that. You didn't eat enough today. You know, you have to eat this. Can I cook this for you? No, true story. The other morning, I was getting ready to leave for work, and you know they're out of school now. So I asked. She was the only one up. I was like, "Hey, do you want me to cook something for you?" Because you know, of course, I'm trying to feed her. No. I'm fine. Okay, so by the time I get myself all ready, I got my scrubs, I'm about to walk out the door. Hey, Mom, can you cook that thing for me for breakfast? I'm like, oh. So, and of course I did it, right?
Yeah.
But you know, then I'm like calling my staff, like, okay, I'm gonna be about 10 minutes late for work because I got to cook this breakfast for this girl at the last minute going out the house. But you know, I mean, you do what you got to do, right? You just make it work.
So let me ask you this because I can feel the comments. You know, it comes across like y'all are in this magical bubble, right? Like we got the calendar, you know, the great husband is taking on cooking and just managing things at home. But who's I guess you would say who disciplines in the house?
Right.
Because I know teenagers are still going to teenage.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And there's these things where I know this is the rule, but I don't feel like doing that. Like, do you find yourself being more the disciplinary figure in the house? Or, well, we definitely know it's probably not dad because he goes with the crazy ideas, right?
Right.
But even in the times where you find yourself having to tighten the reins, how do you do so without disrupting the flow? Because the last thing you want to do is like spending so much time together. We don't want anyone to feel, you know, pouty or in a mood.
Oh yeah.
How do you handle, you know, keeping things in line?
Like keeping the peace.
Yeah.
But still maintaining some kind of order, some kind of discipline.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to give the impression that it's pretty. It is not pretty. It is not pretty, right? First thing I do is I focus on, okay, everybody is healthy, everybody is safe, everybody is happy, right? In my family. Like, you know, those are the priorities. Are you safe? Are you healthy? Are you happy, right? Do you have what you need? So that's the big thing. So then there's sort of everything else. Now, you're right. I mean, I have 2 teenage girls.
Yeah.
Like there's some days I don't know day to day which kid I got. I'm like, who are you today? Are you my sweet baby? Are you, you know, the grown woman who knows everything? I don't know, right? And then they're in different phases of being a teenager, right? The 13-year-old who's kind of a little moody, and then the 16-year-old who is like rising junior who seems really mature, right?
Yeah.
And she's very poised, but then there are those days when it's just everything's wrong, right? And so yeah, it gets crazy. It gets crazy. As far as the disciplinarian, I think both of us are because we're a team, but I also think our approach is very different.
Yeah.
Our approach is very different. Our approaches are different for a couple of reasons. Number one, our upbringing is different in certain regards. Like
Yeah.
my husband's family is very much like my family, right? Nuclear family, very, very strong, very, he grew up sort of in a military background, right? His
Okay.
dad was, career Air Force, and he was Air Force, so he's just like, do, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to discipline.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a household that was disciplined, that was strict, but I'm also a woman.
Yeah.
I'm also, I grew up as the daughter in that house. And as I have grown and I've kind of traveled and I left the state to train, and there are things that I had to see and learn in big cities and all these things. And I had to kind of learn how to find my voice a little bit,
Yeah.
because growing up, when I was growing up, I mean, it was like, kids were seen and not heard. You did what you were told. You didn't ask questions, right? So I remember very clearly when our kids were younger, when our daughters were younger, and I knew I always wanted to raise girls with a voice who were respectful,
Yeah.
but with a voice. You can ask your questions.
Yeah.
We can have a dialogue about it, right? But I remember my oldest, Evan, very clearly. She's probably, 3, 4 something. And I remember my husband told her to do something, and she was like, but why? And he was just so upset by that. And I had to say, listen, she's not questioning your authority. She's really asking why, right?
Yeah.
And so figuring out how to provide discipline and boundaries. I think that's probably a better word.
Yeah.
They're disciplined when they need to be, when we need to discipline them, because they need to learn that there are consequences to their behaviors. But it's more about having boundaries, setting those boundaries. Like, this is what we expect of you, right? This is what we expect you to do. We never expect you to do that, or there will be consequences, right? And having a dialogue about that. I'm very much one who believes in talking through things. And then after we've talked through it, even if we have a disagreement, then I'm done. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done. It's behind us, right? And so I think that that's very different. My husband, I think, because he's a dad and because he has girls, and girls are complicated and they know how to push a dad's buttons,
Hallelujah.
right? So they get him all flustered.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I have to say, listen, I was like, they're winning. I said, that's what they want you to do. They want you to throw up your hands and be like, well, just forget it. And I said, that's their play.
Yeah.
I said, don't let them get too flustered. Now, we are the parents. We are the bosses. So we're going to be a boss. This is what I need you to do. If you don't do it, this will happen. And I'm done. I'm not mad about it. That's how it's going to be.
That's a little harder for girl dads. I can
is.
speak to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
It's challenging because, these are parts of your heart that nobody has ever touched, right?
Right.
But it's easily manipulated at the
for
same
sure.
time.
For sure.
But I love hearing you articulate that. I think it's something that transcends to the game. And in true pun stint, I guess you would say boundaries, right?
Right.
There's certain things that, you could probably be a more advanced player had those boundaries not been there. Had I had another half a foot to run,
Right.
I could have got around that player and scored.
Right.
But boundaries make us respect where we have to stop.
Right.
And I love how you articulated that, because to me, I think in the true scope of going further, right? We have to learn how to navigate life's boundaries.
And sometimes push those boundaries.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of development as a teenager as well. They try on behaviors. They push boundaries, right? Because that's how they learn, and that's how they know that boundaries there for a reason. And I think the game is the same way. If you're trying to develop as a player, you have to push boundaries. You have to push boundaries within the context of the game itself.
Yeah.
There's sometimes when you're going to push a little bit too much, you're going to get a foul, you're going to get a card. Okay, went a little bit too far. And then there are times when you push yourself further than you think you could or you should, and then you do something amazing, You
Yeah.
realize something amazing about yourself and your ability. So I do think it really does translate into the game, when it comes to boundaries. I think that's a beautiful analogy.
I do too. I think that
Yeah, nice job.
you
Nice
did
job, Lo.
that
Nice
was
job.
all you. You articulated
I
that
was just rambling.
very well.
I
Like
was just venting. I was just, my mom just,
now let's pivot, because we this has been a great episode.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe like it's almost like we're at our time, but I love for us to always leave encouraging our listeners, and especially those who are parenting and looking to keep a healthy balance between the things that are hectic and chaotic and the things that we know that kids need in their development just overall as people.
Right.
Now, how do you suggest some of those who are struggling to get some type of order to their chaos? What's a good place to start? Like, what would you suggest? Because I love you giving you tips to offer in question, right? What are 3 tips to start a healthy balance in this world of chaos that soccer can bring?
Oh my gosh. Only 3 tips? Oh gosh.
Just give like some of your top
Yeah.
3 things.
Okay. Top 3 things. Okay. When it comes to sort of navigating that sort of soccer parent real life balance, right? I think planning is important. I think that's the number one thing. Be intentional about your planning. The saying, how we plan is how we play, right? That translates into more than just soccer, okay? So we try to plan every aspect of our game, of our preparation for our games. Okay, so if we're traveling, if we know we're going to be traveling, first of all, you get the schedule early on in the season, right? So as soon as possible, load that into something so you can keep track of where you're supposed to be. So that is done, because that is pretty much a static thing. That's fixed, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, then you start planning sort of game to game, event to event, right? You plan as much as you can, from clothing to nutrition, right? To, every aspect of it you want to have planned out. And the more you do that, it becomes repetitious, and then you don't have to think about it, right? Okay, we have a tournament, so I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that, I'm going to need that. And you keep it organized in a place so it's quick to go to it and just grab it, right? Same thing with snacks, with nutrition. Okay, what are the things that my child's going to eat? Okay, I'm going to get those every single time. You have a list, you have it someplace that is written down. So it doesn't always have to be one person that does that shopping. If it's something that is planned, then you can hand it off to anybody and say, hey, my 16-year-old, hey, order this on the app and have it delivered, or have my husband go. So planning is going to be key, number one. That will help make your life a whole lot simpler once you get a routine down. Now, it's going to take some work to get it down.
Yeah.
You have to, and there's no one size fits all. It's different for every family, right? Depending on your family dynamics and what you guys do and where you're going and things that you like and what you don't like, right? The other tip is be willing to ask for help. You have to ask for help, and that kind of sort of fishtails into, giving yourself some grace, like realizing you can't do this on your own. And I don't mean that if you are a single parent with a child and I don't mean in that regard, right?
Right.
As a parent, you do what you have to do. You figure out a way to get it done. But what I'm saying is, it keeps going back to community. Find your tribe. Reach out to people who can do, even if it's little things for you. If you have to be one place and you have someone who can pick up this other child or get them to practice, find that support system who can do the little things for you. A lot of times when people are thinking about support systems, they're thinking about the big pieces to the puzzle, right? The big rocks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need somebody who can do the littlest of things. Just every Tuesday, if you have someone who can get that one child to that practice every Tuesday, or you have to get one child to practice, but you have a friend who can get this other child to piano lessons every Tuesday, then that's one less thing that you have to navigate. And that feels like a mountain like off your mind and you know, and off your spirit, right?
Yeah.
So be willing to ask for help and be specific about what you need, right? Don't be general. Be specific. I need help with X. I need you to do X. Can you do Y? Think about it and think about what you really, really need to make this doable for you, and then be willing to ask for it. And just because one person says no, like I always say, you don't give up on the process. You can give up on that person, them doing it for you, but you don't give up on the process if that's what you need, right?
Yeah.
That's number 2. And number 3, I think, is just enjoy it. Like, enjoy the ride. These are going to be the days that are going to go so fast, and you're going to look back on them, and they will be the best days of your family's life.
Wow.
As crazy as they are. You know, as crazy as they are. We're traveling. We're spending hours in the car. We're spending hours flying. We're getting back late on a Sunday to get ready for school on a Monday. And it's boom, 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 boom. And then you turn around twice and they're like 16 and 13. And then they're 20 and they're 7. And it goes by so fast. But the whole time we're making memories. We're together, right? We're together. And that counts. That matters. And I guess if there is a 4th thing that I could add.
Yeah.
Is, you know, make those memories, right? I mean, soccer isn't just about the game. It's about spending time with that child. It's about making those memories. If you have to be in a city, let your child lead and say, hey, we're here. You're doing all this work. You've been doing so great. You're working so hard. You're here. You're playing great. What do you want to do while we're here? Let's do something that's not soccer related. What do you want to do? You know what I mean? Like, take a breath and let them take a breath and like let your child lead and be like, okay, well, let's do this or let's do that or whatever, you know? And that just sort of brings it all full circle. It just makes it all worth it. Like, yeah, man, we got home, we're tired, but man, that was fun.
Yeah.
You know, it was a good time. That was, you know, and your child will remember that too. They'll remember the sacrifices that you made. They'll remember the things that you're doing, all the work. And as teenagers, it doesn't feel like it. My girls are no exception. Like, there are days where I'm just like, can I get a thank you or something today? You know, I've been running around since sunup.
Yeah.
And you're not going to you may not get that right now. But they're noticing. They're taking note. They're going to remember. And they're going to appreciate everything that you've done. So.
You know, I love that. And those were phenomenal tips. I love you always bring it full circle. But it's something I read recently about parenthood that says great parents or good parenting is like a good car. When you have a good car, you just know that it runs smoothly,
right,
that you can get in it and it'll take you wherever you need to be. You rarely think about tune-ups or oil changes or the maintenance of that, right? And I think that's what kids don't realize about good parenting is that sometimes you need to maintain that good parenting by just saying thank you, showing appreciation. But then sometimes you don't realize how good that vehicle was until it's gone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let this be an encouragement. All of us are somebody's child.
Right.
So if you have
Call your mama.
Call your mama, man. Speaking, I need to call mine. I'll be busy, but I gotta call.
Right.
I gotta call more. But what a great place for us to end this episode. You want to take us out?
Yeah, of course. And as always, keep striving, keep pushing. Always further.
Always further. And subscribe. And we'll see y'all in the next one.
All right. Bye.